Hello and welcome to another episode of the Matt Belair podcast. Today we have a very special guest for you. He is a director, filmmaker, uh, an amazing human being that has just done so much stuff, and his bio is incredible. I was going to read it for you, but I want to introduce you to him myself so he can explain more about his incredible work. Welcome to the show, Reuben Langdon.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Appreciate it.
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. I'm in lovely Hawaii. It's kind of raining right now, and it's not the best weather, but it's an awesome place to be, so I can't complain.
Yeah, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, especially you're in your car and recording with me because you're out there doing the work. For those who don't know you, you have your work is super interesting. Do you want to give people a little bit about your background and what you've done and what you're working on right now?
Yeah, I started off just as an actor stuntman, and I sort of created a career in that world, and got to be known for some of the video game characters that I've played and roles I've done over the years. And then got really interested in extraterrestrials back in 2007 when I had a sighting, and just really started diving in, investigating, and going full into it. And then I started creating sort of a side career of, actor, stuntman, producer, and then on the side investigating this phenomenon of extraterrestrials, and now what I know is extra dimensionals, and just going deep into that work. So I still kind of have this alter ego, two worlds, one foot in one camp and one foot in the other, back and forth. But they're merging now, those worlds. And I go to comic book conventions and anime conventions, and as a guest for the other work. But I am introducing now the ET stuff into that world, and then vice versa. I'm speaking at UFO conventions and consciousness conventions and stuff like this that focus mostly on that work. And oh, by the way, yeah, I'm like a stuntman, and I've done, worked on Avatar and done some really cool work in the mainstream space. And people are like, "What? You did that?" So it's kind of cool to have one foot in each world, and then now sort of bring them together.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, the way that I came across your work was your series Interview with Extra Dimensionals, and you have really interesting people on there talking. And are they all channelers? Are they all channeling higher beings, or?
That's sort of the focus tends to be the focus of it, but not everyone is a channeler. Some people are just experiencers. And some people channel, I guess, in different ways, just through art and through their own experiences, I guess. But it tends to be the focus is the concept of channeling, people who sort of go into an altered state, and another being comes through them, or a collective of beings comes through them. And then I just have this conversation with them, with the being, with the channel first, but then in this altered state, I'm having this conversation with this higher vibrational being, and asking them questions like, how does the universe work, and why are we here, and just all the great questions that we've to want to know as human beings. And I'm getting the answers, and it all correlates with, well, first of all, they're all saying the same things, essentially, like all the different channelers and all the different beings are basically giving me the same answers. And then it correlates with stuff that we're discovering in science, in quantum physics. And it's cool to sort of, connect the dots and see the big picture of what is reality. And that's sort of been my main goal, is trying to figure out what is our purpose, what are humans doing here, what is all this high strangeness that's constantly happening, and people are having these unique experiences, and to try to get a little clarity on all that.
Right. Right. And so, basically you're operating under the belief system right now that aliens do exist. That's just something that we're going to have to accept. Um,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Back in 2013, I produced an event called the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, which was a 5-day mock congressional hearing. And we got over 40 witnesses, mostly ex-military, government agency folks, and um, Defense Minister of Canada, Paul Hellyer, former head of investigations of the FAA, heads of SAC nuke bases, and we put them through this hearings, this 5 days worth of hearings, and 6 former members of Congress. And that, I say, that's the ABCs of ufology. If you have any doubt that there's a higher intelligence engaging humanity, sit through that, watch it. It's proof in the pudding. It's undeniable. The evidence is there. You just have to look at it.
where can
So after,
people access that? Is that online?
yeah, that's online. Citizenhearing.org is the website, and you can watch it online through Vimeo on demand, or we actually have DVDs for sale through the site. So if you want to get a DVD, you can order it through there. And yeah, that was sort of my investigations, really just trying to prove to myself, okay, this phenomenon is real, right? And then, yeah, I got through all that, but then I knew there was more. I knew there was, there was through the researchers, some had a negative spin on it, some sort of had a fear-based take on the whole phenomenon, and some positive, and the fear-based side didn't resonate with me because we're still here, right? If they wanted to come here and rape and pillage us, why not just come here and rape and pillage us? Why do it in this secretive manner that seems to be happening? So I wanted to go deeper, and then I started tuning into works from like Bashar and Wendy Kennedy and the Palladians, and hearing what they were saying, and it sort of correlated again with all this evidence that I had been researching as a hardcore, just like grounded researcher, evidence-based. Like all of the evidence supported what these cats were saying, where the negative fear-based stuff didn't really support that. When you looked at it in a logical way, as well as experiencers and abductees and people who've had those experiences. So I sort of, when taking the collective evidence and putting it all together, the stuff these channelers were saying really resonated and matched the evidence, and then it was just about connecting more dots. Okay, so if these guys are saying this, even though I can't prove that they're real, I can't prove the channeling phenomenon is real with our normal scientific way of doing things. But at least what they're saying resonates, and what they're saying also supports all the other evidence that we have already, with quantum physics and holographic universe, and scientific discoveries, as well as even like guys like Craig Braden and the heart math and these other discoveries in that area. Like everything these cats are saying is there is evidence to follow it up. The only thing is we just can't prove that they themselves, this phenomenon, it could be somebody putting on an act and just taking all the evidence that's out there and making up a story, I'm from the Palladians, and this is my being, and this is the name, and and I'm just a massive researcher, but I know that's not true, because I get to know these people and I follow them around and I see what they're reading, and I'm the only guy I know that's like as fanatic as me, right? Going, and maybe you too, but like going and investigating everything and covering all sides of turning all of the turning over all the rugs and looking underneath and really trying to look at every aspect of the phenomenon,
right,
of the extraterrestrial phenomenon. And these guys are definitely not doing that. They have other things to do. You know, they have, some of them have day jobs, some of them have just, you know, clients and stuff. They're busy with that, and they don't have time to do the research. I'm blessed with my acting work, where I get a couple gigs a month, and it sort of keeps me going. And I have a very, you know, basic lifestyle. I live in the mountains in Big Bear and don't really have a big rent to pay. So I spend a lot of my time just researching, and interviewing people and talking to people, and yeah, I don't know. These guys and girls are not as hardcore as me. They'd have to be, and even more so, right? And then they would have to be amazing actors, because the stuff they're able to say on the fly takes that's like the ultimate improv artist.
Totally.
Because I don't go in with I mean, I have my own questions. I don't supply them with the questions ahead of time. And during the course of the conversation, I'll just throw out a question, and there's no stuttering, there's no nothing. And it's not an out there answer. Their answer is like solid. And then it can be verified through, again, investigating quantum physics and other detailed scientific things. You can actually verify what they're saying
Right.
later down the road. So I'm absolutely convinced the phenomenon is real. I've been in channeling states myself, and I've experienced what that's like. So I can my mind being blown in real time as I'm doing it. um, so it's a belief system. Not everybody has to subscribe to it, but I'm convinced.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me too, like, I grew up open to this kind of thing, right? And I think that the people listening to this are the people that are open to it. They,
Sure.
you could, if you don't want to be convinced, then, sure, but if you look into it really heavily, like even Gaia TV,
Yeah.
you go through, 10 hours of that stuff. And if you don't
Right.
know that aliens exist, and, this is just a new understanding,
Yeah.
then that's okay. You can believe that. And so that's where, like, with this, what I'm really curious about is like the highest end. So everybody listening, just do your best. If you have disbelief, always do your own research. And then
Absolutely.
most importantly, and I think this is a little bit to what you're saying, is you ask a question, they give you an answer, and does it seem like bullshit or not? Like, it seems to resonate. It feels okay, and that's the only real guiding post we have. So, from the highest level of what you're experiencing, having everybody suspend their disbelief, like what's actually going on out there, like how many like alien species are you aware of, or do they channel? What do they say is going on the planet? Because I've heard things about Telos, and there's like galactic war, and then Earth is a central point. Then they talk about densities, and I've heard you talk about this because I was curious about it with Treb. The difference between density and dimension, which is a really good question. So from the highest level of like how you would build somebody, like an understanding of what Earth is, what's happening galactically, what's happening with aliens, and how that affects us, can you build a model there and then bring us to what you're problem solving with your direct experiences?
Right. The first thing where I'm at with it now is, as humans in this reality, we tend to think very linearly, as from A to Z, and it just, you go down this line, and time sort of exists in that manner. We're starting to massage our minds now with amazing film concepts and ideas, Interstellar, this new TV show OA, and these cool fiction pieces that are pulling in some of these concepts and putting it out there to allow us to sort of to think differently. And the more we goes into this, is these ETs aren't, on one level they are ETs, but they would be more properly termed as EDs, extra dimensionals. And that's why my series, the title, and Interview with Extra Dimensionals, they actually told me during the interviews that you should probably change your title. It would fit it better. And so if we can think along the lines of dimensional spaces, and instead of linear, like they're out there. So space-time, and we've heard these concepts that time doesn't exist, that it's sort of an illusion. And on one level it does, and on one level it doesn't, and it's both. And so it's shifting our perspective from that linear side, and understanding that that's a reality, and not to negate that, but linear does exist. But let's look at it from this other perspective, and we can also see simultaneously these dimensional beings can come in and out of our dimensional realm, using technology sometimes, but not necessarily all the time, using their own physical, vibrational, beingness. We as humans, I've been told through the interviews, are interdimensional beings ourselves. We have a chakra system that we can tune and access, and each chakra sort of represents a different density. And densities often get confused with the concept of dimensions, but they're sort of on another level. So forget dimensions for a minute and just think about densities correlating with spectrums of the rainbow, with the chakra points, which also correlates with the rainbow. And we have first density, which would be sort of the rocks and the minerals and the elements, and that correlates with the red color, the lower chakra. Second density would be more plant and animal life, not really having an ego, or not really having self-awareness like humans have. And we're third density creatures. And then the third density, which we developed an ego, we have an idea of ourself and self-realization. And then fourth density beings is what humanity is moving into. And this is what all of the ETs that I've interviewed, they all say humanity is going through this major transformation. And we've heard this over the years, humanity is going into the age of Aquarius, moving from, I guess, Pisces into Aquarian, I guess in the astrological signs, and this huge transformation. But what the ETs or the EDs term as humans are moving into this heart space where the densities become lighter, and we're becoming now from third density, but we're also becoming more aware that everything is interconnected, and that not only us on this planet, but we have a cosmic family. And this is the introduction to our cosmic family, and to these sort of, Star Trek uses, they go to these different planets and they use the prime directive where they can't interfere with other civilizations' growth until they sort of reach this place where they can craft and go into outer space. And then that's when they start making contact. We're sort of in that stage now where humanity's waking up to its cosmic self. And that's fourth density consciousness. And then it just keeps going higher and higher, fifth and sixth densities, again correlating with the throat chakra, the third eye, and all the way up to the crown. And then after that you go into the higher densities, which are more collective civilizations. So that they've sort of graduated, like the earth is a seventh density being itself. It's collectively all of the plants, the animals, and us, and everything that's on earth. It makes up this one collective being that exists in the seventh density. And we just see it. We still see it on our level in the separation. Some of us tap into the seventh density-ness through our meditations and through plant medicines. And we can have conversations with, Gaia, with Mother Earth, Pachamama. So that's the density side of things. But I guess they're saying the big thing is we're going through this transformation, right? Humanity is shifting, and it's super exciting to watch for them. It's super exciting for us to be here in the physicalized meet bodies that we're in to experience it, to feel the transformation, to help with the transformation, as probably most of your audience is actually doing. Just experiencing it, but doing the work, helping with it.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I like how you explain the densities, because I always had trouble. Well, did they give you a clear differentiation between density and dimension?
Well, it's not really. It's sort of, they sort of stack on top of each other. So as your density goes up, your perception shifts, and dimensions is, I believe, more of a perception, a way of seeing things, as compared to densities. It would be more of a physicalized, a way to physically measure, how dense the vibration is, maybe.
Right.
So within, for example, within the third density, we're now in the fourth dimension. But I guess on the lower echelon of third density, or the beginnings of third density, the end of second density, you're sort of in the third dimension. So space-time, we have up, down, left, right, and then space-time, and that's how we measure things. But I would say animals don't really have a full concept of space-time. They get up, they do their thing, they sleep when they sleep, they eat when they eat, and they're not thinking about tomorrow so much. I mean, some of them maybe, but some of them more are pets and more advanced ones. But most of them sort of just live in the moment and are doing their thing. So we as humans have this concept of space-time. Okay, we know tomorrow, we know the next day. We have like a clear measurement of time. And that's the fourth dimension of our reality. So we're actually living in the fourth dimension. And now moving into this fourth density, where some of us are tapping into fifth dimensional consciousness. And that would be this nonlinear way of thinking, again, sort of not going back to third dimension, but sort of, our life, if our life starts with our birth and we die, and that's A to Z, sort of experiencing our lives at different points, or even other lives, simultaneous lives instead of past lives. Now we're using the term, we're correcting our terminology, because it appears to be a past life, but it's actually a simultaneous life happening in another vibrational frequency that we're able to tap into. And that would be more of fifth dimensional perceptions of being able to view things out of order, per se, and jump around. And I think ETs, a lot of these ETs sort of have a fifth dimensional perception of reality, because they're able to jump it through different timelines and sort of experience things from that perspective. So again, I think the dimensions is more of a perspective of time. And when we see that, in the movie Interstellar, you get to see, how Matthew McConaughey's future version of himself is interacting with the past, right? And he goes into the Tesseract and is in a fifth dimensional way interacting in these different ways. So I think that's a quite accurate interpretation based on, the information I'm getting from these ETs, or at least close to sort of moving our mind around these dimensional concepts.
Right. Well, and I'm sure that, you've done well, or have had an experience. So some people have experiences through meditation where they experience a time where there is no time, there is no space. And Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, really all he's doing is teaching people how to go into a meditative state, visualize health, and they're curing themselves of terminal illnesses repeatedly. There's Kundalini experiences. Your brain's going into 1 million microvolts when the average is 10 to 60 microvolts. So you're accessing, and he continuously says you have to go beyond time and space. And he does his best to tell you the difference between time, space, and space-time. But when you have this,
Yes, yeah, right.
right, which is, even when you're like,
Yeah, I
okay,
love those terms. That's great. That's great that you bring that up. Yeah, because we have space time, and then you're going into the time space reality, which is its own sort of quantum field
yeah,
of
yeah,
infinite.
and it's so interesting. So with something like an ayahuasca experience, which plant
Mhm.
medicine is really making its way around, you go from this mind concept for people listening. They're like, holy, that's out there stuff. But then
Mhm.
you do some ayahuasca, and you're like, okay, you just broke everything that I thought that I knew, because I went to a place that I
Right.
could not even fathom or understand, but it was real. And that's me maybe understanding more of myself, or what's going on here. And it's a big concept, and that's this is where I kind of want to play with people, because like with what you're looking at and researching, you're very logical and analytical, and and you're putting in the
Mhm.
time and looking, and that's why this highest element for people to filter at the highest is, so even if they can make like a little step up, right, and you're going to find that
Mhm.
information that you need to keep going on. What have you found, because I've had different information. I was on one podcast, the Decoders of Truth, pretty big following. It's like 66,000 subscribers. And, they're basically talking about the draconian beings and things like that, and how the world is
Sure.
run by the reptilians. And it's scary because they're
Yep.
trying to mess us up. You know what I mean? So the podcast kept getting dark, but I kept it, getting light. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm not going down
Yeah.
there. But also, if there's a big lizard, you know what? Like, it's so messed up. But however, doing ayahuasca and getting to these states through yogic breathing,
Yep.
I'm in them, so I'm like, okay, cool. So what is it? What have they found? Like, the way that I kind of am perceiving this is
Mhm.
kind of like Star Wars, where you've got good ones and bad ones. In the same way, you've got human beings. Some
Yep.
human beings are pieces of shit, and they do bad things. Not all of
Yeah.
us, you know what I mean? Some, you got an animal, and
Sure.
right, some stupid kid tortures a cat. You know what I mean? We're not all bad. So hopefully somebody will put that kid in check. Um, but like, they give you any understanding of like, okay, the one step is like, what do I do as myself with this new understanding of aliens and beings, some good, some bad, some I can connect to? How the hell do I ascend? How do I get to this fourth dimension, or frequency, or density, or whatever it
Right.
is? And then galactically, is that what they say? Is it Star Wars? Do we got like Jedis messing with the Sith out there, and keeping it in check on this universal balance scale?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I've definitely dove in deep in those conversations. There there is or was a an event, they always use it as a past term for them, called the Orion Wars. I guess in the constellation Orion, there was a lot of uh, uh, and they sort of several of them have said that's what the Star Wars is sort of based on, event, this millennia of warring between different civilizations that went on in the Orion area. And it was mostly the Draconians coming through with their imperialistic ideas of ruling, and mostly a third, fourth density reality. Uh, because once you start getting into the upper echelons of fourth density, that stuff just can't really exist. Is the way it's been told to me. Fourth and fifth density, that those warring, like I guess your war and control in order just to get there. You can't really get there without it. So um, and that space time is still accessible because of all, not everything is here now, but the way they describe it is that was, millennia ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? um, so there is a draconian presence on the planet. We do have draconian DNA mixed in with our DNA, and the the whole concept of separation, though, of us sort of those draconians are here to get us, and they're all bad and they're evil, down at that lower density. The idea of integration is in the integration, and the idea of integration is something that they often use, that no matter how bad it is, just creates more separation. So to integrate it in and love it, love even the so-called bad stuff, right? The kid that's killing the cat or torturing the cat. Let's not. It's doing that. There's a reason these draconians, these reptilians are doing what they're doing. On one level, it's to allow us to make a clear choice as humans to say, okay, I align with that or I don't. But no matter what, if that person, if that thing is, that event is in our existence, it's in our awareness, then then it's there for a reason. They say there are no accidents, there are no coincidences, and everything is a choice. So we may physically in this reality say, hell no, I don't want that in my life, but it's there in your life. It's showing itself because on a subconscious level or on a higher dimensional soul contract level, we chose it. Nothing can happen without an agreement on any level. So when we can sort of come to those terms, then it's easier to say, okay, why is this happening to me? How does this serve me? And when you do that, immediately you shift the vibration of that situation, that kid abusing the cat. Okay, why is this kid abusing this cat in my life? Okay, let's look at that. Maybe I need to show more compassion for this kid. Maybe my knee-jerk reaction would be to kick him out of my life, but not having enough compassion in my life, so this thing keeps showing up. This event, this thing keeps showing up to allow me, to give me the opportunity to integrate it. Again, these are all terms and concepts that they constantly bring up to help us to understand what's happening. And I've been adapting a lot of these philosophies and ideas in my own life, and it's since I've started this series, this past year has just been amazing. It's just complete synchronicity. Everything in my life is just like happening just when I need it. Never too much. It's like it's truly amazing when you can not judge, when you cannot judge situations, and when things happen to you, and you can sort of stop the cycle immediately. You can say, okay, why did this happen to me? And well, maybe there's a lesson I can learn from this. And then that you get out of that spiral of negativity, and then you allow yourself, then all of a sudden you open yourself up to see other positive possibilities that can come through. But when you're focused on that one event or that one thing that happens in your life and it sucks, and you're like, oh, that sucks, oh man, and you start beating yourself up and playing the victim role and all this stuff, you become blinded, and all you see is negativity, and you're only going to see more negativity. And I know I'm kind of going all over the place in tangents here, but it's kind of stringing together. And back again to the Draco concept, that yes, there's the tons of manipulation going on within the government, within our world, and it's been going on for millennia. And I see things now not as like individuals, as people, but as a consciousness, and we as humans get to align with these consciousnesses. Do we go to the Palladian, Arcturian higher vibrational consciousnesses, or do we go to the Draco consciousnesses? And one's not better than the other. It's just simply which ones do you want to align with. And there are lessons to be learned in all of it. And these Dracos have been here teaching humanity hey, do I want to? We see how that works now. We see the reptilian, draconian hierarchy, Illuminati pyramid, all seeing eye. And if you, I call it mafia mentality. If you, serve the mafia, the top boss, then we love you and you're great and we're going to protect you. And if you go outside of that circle, then we'll cut your head off.
Mm.
We know that doesn't work. I mean, we're watching it and we see just over and over how that, I shouldn't say it doesn't work. It works for them great. But so many of us don't align with that,
Right.
with that idea and that concepts. And we're learning now through going, and a lot of our institutions are set up this way, right? Very much compartmentalization, no sharing, the boss does this and everybody else serves in that way and as slaves. And that's a way. We tried that. We tried on those hats. And a lot of us are waking up and saying, no, you know what, that's not working. Let's go a different route. So it served us. It was serving in the fact. And instead of us sort of mulling in that area and saying, oh my God, they're taking over, there's nothing we can do. We can just simply shift and say, thank you. The gratitude, it releases, because that energy itself, the draconian, fear-based enslavement, can't exist in a gratitude. It just, so as soon as you thank it for serving its purpose, for the evolution, because it's all evolution, for the evolution that it has done for humanity, to serve it, to now realize you're giving us a choice now. Now we've done that. We've been in that so deep, and we see this other stuff over here that our Palladian and Arcturian friends and our other, friendly reptilians and our other cats are giving us. Then we can and thank those draconians, and they can go play and do the thing in those other realms, right? There's people unfortunately there's still people on this planet that still want to play in those realms, but that can't last much longer as the rest of humanity is sort of deciding to play in the I guess I would say higher vibrational realms, but don't confuse my wording by saying higher, as because it's all it's all good,
Right?
Even the nasty stuff.
Right. Well, you definitely said a lot of interesting things, which I'm aware of a lot of that, and I just want to touch on some of it,
Sure.
to help clarify for some of the people listening that maybe these are some new concepts. One of the things that I really loved about, and again, in a lot of the work of the channeling, Bashar and things like that, it talks about catalyst or challenge as an opportunity to grow. So if we see as every single thing that happens to us as an opportunity to grow, this is one of the characteristics of an enlightened person. You know what I mean? That's how they view it. It's their perspective, and they accept it. So then they become the creator, not the victim. And so they also allow other things and other beings. And now we have to get into other, holy, I didn't even realize that there were different species or higher dimensions or whatever. Now I got to let them do their thing. But I have my own free will as a creator, just it's a lot bigger scale than I could have ever imagined. I guess my question with this, okay, we've got those elements happening, and again, I've read something a while back. It was talking about one of the draconian beings, and it was basically like, for me to offer a catalyst to you, and this is from the Book of Raw Stuff, is like 97% negative. You've heard about the Book of Raw Stuff?
A Book of Raw, yep.
Yeah, so one of them, it was apparently, and that, it was on Above Top Secret, and I don't know if it was true, but it was a really interesting article. It was supposed to be one of these beings, and he basically said, you would never want my life, but I'm actually come down here as a favor for you, because I'm giving you all of this catalyst, and now you have an opportunity to grow. If I wasn't here and everything was gravy, you wouldn't, it's kind of like when you want to go to the gym, like it's a bit sore, it's challenging to jog. It's not that easy. So, I was like, well, that's an interesting perspective. So, but really getting into that, we are the creator mode. Really, you do create your reality, and you're noticing this after a year. I'm noticing this after I am continually cleaning up my thoughts even better and even better. I almost have like all of my life is in harmony. For a long time, I don't have people get mad. Like it just doesn't happen. It just does not happen. Right. And then, so this goes into the Bashar stuff, which I really liked. And Bashar is awesome. If you check him out on YouTube, he can get pretty specific with things. And, he talks about, he's like, in this place, you can live in a different dimension or reality created by you. You know what I mean? Like and you can see that simply with somebody who has a job that he enjoys and he's passionate about, that, can afford a beautiful house in nature. and has great harmonious friends, well, that's a whole different dimension than you making the choice to be in the army and to go to war, and then you're in battle, and then your buddy's leg gets blown off, and you're doing it for a reason that you found for yourself, which is your own choice. That's fine. But that's, you've just stepped into a reality where grenades now exist. And I'm more trying to step into a reality where maybe mermaids and Bigfoot exist, and we can hang out and have tea and be like, no kidding, Bigfoot. You know what I mean? He's rad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you kind of get that choice. I would prefer to go that way. And so I guess my question is, did they talk to you about the harvest at all? And like, does it say anything like that? And for those out there, because, when you go into this stuff, you look at Anunnaki and the reptilians and stuff like that. And even for me, where I'm at, some days I'm like, yeah, man, I'm like this light warrior, angel being, I can't be messed with. Then other days I'm like, okay, wait, I was like, can this thing mess with me? Like in a group of people? Cause it, do I have anything to be afraid of? Do people have anything to be afraid? Cause I know that like the big thing is fear. And I've heard of archons and things like that. My personal understanding right now with it is that, and the people listening here, I'm just asking you direct. This is like a personal conversation because it's like where I'm at. But so I have, when I feel it come in, it's just bringing in love and light and knowing that I'm the infinite creator. And overall, I feel like I shouldn't have anything to worry about. And so I guess if you can touch on what they say about all that stuff.
Yeah. We have to be careful the way, I know the Book of Ra talks about the harvest. Remember that was written in the 60s, 70s. And we interpret that in a lot of material as us being special, or some certain people are going to be selected and others aren't. And I don't think it quite works that way. I think that the some of the terminologies, especially in the past, were not as careful with the wording, and some of the beings that came through used terms. Sort of re-look at it right now from a different perspective. Those terms, they're accurate, but they're not fully giving service to, I think, the interpret what was meant to be. And basically my understanding it from Bashar's work and from everybody else is there's not going to be this or that, again, this whole dichotomy, this polarity of ideas. We tend to be in our linear thinking that it's this or that. So like certain number of people are going to be saved and certain people aren't. The way I understand it now is we ourselves, our unique individuals, have full control over our reality and how we perceive timelines and realities. And we're constantly shifting from one timeline to the next timeline to the next timeline, and every second and every moment. So it's and we shift by making our choices, by our thoughts, our beliefs, and our emotions, and from how we perceive things. So again, of a situation puts us, based on our beliefs, our thoughts, and emotions, puts us at a certain vibrational frequency. And if we're at a lower vibrational frequency, then we're going to perceive things in a way, we're going to, I guess, we'll perceive things in a different way, and then we'll feel that lower vibration. And again, it sort of happens. It's like, is it the chicken or the egg? And it's hard to say which one is first. But the key thing is what we were just saying in the conversation prior, is to sort of view the world as not in the victim role, and constantly staying in these positive vibrations by owning everything, right? By not putting it off, by non-judgment, by staying in your power and saying, okay, I create my reality, because you do, and you have control over how you perceive something, and then following your joy. And by doing these things, stay at a certain frequency, and then everything around you starts to change. Not that your friend's going to magically be taken aboard a ship and you're not, or you're going to be taken and they're going to be left behind. what happens is you move into a dimensional timeline space where your friend actually is vibrating at a higher version as well, because now you can only interact with what you are. You can only perceive what you are. And then you start to interact with a higher vibrational version of that person, of that being. And if in all of creation that person does not have a higher vibration doppelganger, then maybe that person just doesn't exist in your reality anymore. In some very natural way, that person either shifts or just doesn't exist in your reality. Like something moves away, or something, something happens where that person that isn't there.
Right.
You don't get a phone call from that person. So I don't think it's going to be like this big ships are going to come down and start sucking people up and taking the good people, and the rest are here to sort of, die and get eaten up by the draconians. And some of the materials sort of put us in that mindset. Oh my God, I better be good, or I'm going to get, the demons are going to eat me up.
Right.
So hopefully, I don't know if that
helps
that question.
It's pretty aligned with my thought. What I was going to jump in there and say is, from my work when I do coaching sometimes, or even if I go to a seminar, like a really high level seminar, again, like a Dr. Joe type of deal, sometimes Burning Man, places that have a massive impact, right? Like Tony Robbins is another example. People will break up. Like relationships, and that's the way that I see it, because you got to grow together, but all of a sudden you go to Burning Man or Tony Robbins, or you have a really great coach and they really help you level up, and you've gone from like a 60 and you're in a relationship with another 60, and then you get to a 90 because you remember who you are. You're not going to accept this lower energy anymore, this lower thing. And then all of a sudden your relationship changes, you that can't hang anymore. Your social circle is going to change. Now, all of a sudden, you're hanging around with different people. And I just see it like literally radio dials, you know what I mean? Wherever you're tuned into, that's where you're going to get these people at. So the idea is to, and again, Bashar says this, and everybody says this is like ancient wisdom. They're saying they're completely in line. The interesting thing is about these channelers, they don't contradict each other. They're in total alignment with ancient wisdom, with the highest levels of teaching. And most importantly, if you sit down and you just think about what they're saying and feel into it, it feels right. And it's right.
Yep.
And, but so, so that's really it for me. So, you got to learn how to turn your own dial up. And then, so for me, this harvest concept, and they, I got it in the Aquarian Gospel of the Christ, the Book of Ra, and a little bit in the Bhagavad Gita. And the way that I see it is like just like a human ascension. Like you have everything here. This is Earth school. We're learning, we're growing, and I know that everything seems so real. Your bills and the problems, they're real enough. But it doesn't mean you have to be an a-hole while you do it. The game is, it's not supposed to be an easy game, right? You've created this series, and and it's amazing, and then you work 9 to 5 and you're stuntman, risking your body or whatever the case is, right? Sometimes get a good party, like, it's cool, got some money, now I'm gonna go follow this thing, and I'm gonna balance the best way I can, because this is the game. And it's been the same with me, just really committing to the path. And that commitment to the path is like, I'm team Mother Earth, I'm team Gaia 100%. And that's what I commit to. And I think that the more I do that, and it's been a long time now, I don't think I ever had another choice, but when I see others kind of step into it, it's rocky, you get challenged, but ultimately you start to find this guidance system within yourself that's aligned with source. And so then all of a sudden, it gets a bigger picture. You know what I mean? You start to get these bigger awarenesses, right? Like you gotta somebody who's got a really shut down mind, right? They're not really going to be open to small concepts, let alone a concept of aliens. So, with kind of like on that frame of mind, like Where the heck are the good guys with this, battle? Like, and I've heard different things about being able to call them in. Like, I have a video on YouTube where, I had a ship, just like an orb. I don't know if it's an orb or a ship or being or something, but I have 45 minutes and I just sat with it and I was like, okay, which is super cool. And I have friends with like wild direct experiences, you know what I mean? And, my buddies aren't going to lie to me. And the thing is, I have crazy stories that, even for me, I'm like, 2 months later, I'm like, did that actually happen? Like, yes, it happened. Like, you know what I mean? That's why you always want someone else with you. So you could like, no, it did happen. Don't worry. So can we call in the good guys? What do we do to align ourselves with like the light team, with the Jedi, to call them in? And, you're sitting here and you're looking to transform your life. And now you're talking about aliens. Like, how can I just take this info and apply it? And then like, okay, cool. Just, put the white flag and be like, this is my team, let's do
it. It comes down to, I think, again, the simplest is if you can try to look everything as a vibrational frequency. And I know that sounds woo-woo, but we had, Nikola Tesla and both Einstein and Tesla make quotes that if the world is, when you can see the world as a vibrational frequency, then that sort of transforms everything. And that's what it is. And we know through colors and sound, sort of vibrating, and even string theory goes into this at a certain level, a certain hertz, a certain frequency. And if we can pay attention to what emotions and feelings and what comes out of these situations. So I'm just making sure I'm parked okay here. Yes. Sorry. So every thought that we have, every feeling, every emotion, if we can just check in, where's that? What's the frequency of that thought, that emotion, that even the belief system? Limited beliefs tend to be of a lower vibration. Thinking that, oh, you can only do this or you can't do that, or this is the way, the draconians are going to come, a belief system that the draconians are going to come and eat everybody. That's a very low vibration belief system. So if you can sort of shift all aspects of your life and become aware of that into a higher vibration, and it's as easy, Bashar puts it the easiest, and I think we all reference Bashar because I think he's really done a good job of simplifying a lot of this lingo, at least for the scientific minded people, the people who are like really mental, and simply says, in every moment, in every second of all the available choices made to you, follow your joy, and have no acceptance to the outcome. When you do that, you are putting yourself at a high vibrational frequency. Just think about it. When you're having fun, when you're enjoying yourself, you're doing it with integrity. You're not hurting anybody else, and you're sort of at your peak in every moment and every second out of all the available choices. Then you're constantly just climbing that vibrational frequency ladder, going higher and higher. And then you'll get thrown wrenches and things like that, and that's where I really like to use the tool of, if the other day I'm coming to Hawaii, I left my computer in the TSA check-in box, and a brand new computer, $3,800, and I'm like, oh my god, I lost the computer, what's going on here? And then I had to, right in the moment, instead of beating myself up, I'm like, okay, how does this serve me? How does this serve me? How does it serve me to leave my computer? How does it serve me? And looking at, so I immediately shifted that beating myself up over leaving my computer at the airport into it's serving me. There's a purpose for it. There's something good. Again, I shifted that into a higher vibrational frequency. And can you still hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The picture froze, so I'm just making sure. So when you're constantly in a higher vibrational frequency, then you're just automatically surrounded by these higher vibrational frequency beings. You may not be able to see them right away, but if you start meditating, you start going into these quiet places, they'll show up. I see them all the time now. Don't have full-on conversations, but just little hints. You got to you know, that feeling when somebody's looking at you, but not in a dark, perverted way, but like, oh, there's somebody right over there. Oh, cool. Hey, what's up, dude? Um, and th- naturally start to make contact. I've only consciously had like one real contact situation, when that was with the mantis being came and started downloading all this information to me about the reptilians and about the human experience here. And it's just wild, and more of it happens, and the orbs show up in the room, and you're just like, whoa. And it's just, that's just like a byproduct of following your joy, of being at this in these higher frequencies. So I don't know if it's, I mean, you can call them anytime you want, but I would suggest just living in the joyous moments, and that sort of stuff just starts to naturally happen. And fear of them, when they do happen, you know, it pulls us out of this reality, and we're like, oh my God. But if you can just kind of say, not negate it, negating and things, again, these are lower frequencies. Separation. A tool I always use is, whatever I'm thinking, believing, doing, does it create separation or unity? And if it creates unity, it tends to be a higher vibrational. If it creates separation, it tends to be a lower vibration or a negative vibration. So just look at all aspects of your life and what you do and how you believe and how you operate, and if it creates unity, if it creates separation.
I love that, man. I love how simple it is. I'd love to add Abraham Hicks is another channel. So Abraham Collective. And, she has really great work. And, one of the main ones I talk about is always just reach for a better feeling thought. So if you are, in rage, just try to get to really, really angry, and then get to anger. Right.
Yeah.
And then just that, right. So you're always reaching for this better feeling thought. And this is how you get into the flow. And this is how miracles happen, is trusting this signal and kind of disregarding logic like a little bit, you know what I mean? It's like, maybe, I don't know, you probably go crazy with it and it'll all work out, I'm sure. But then you've got, on the being side, which I like, and maybe I'll ask you a bit more about the mantis, because that seems super cool. I want to know about that. Dr. Joe, in his work, doing the pineal gland activation. So, there's ayahuasca out there. The pineal gland produces DMT.
Wim Hof, I've been doing the Wim Hof method. I'm on week 6 now, and that's amazing. I've been really going really deep and activating the pineal and doing stuff. So you don't even need ayahuasca or other, plant entheogens. You can just do it with breath.
Totally, 100%. Wim Hof is one, and then another resource that I give out consistently is Ananda Girl. She has a meditation, you going through the energy centers of the body, and that's how I have the experience. So that's what I can confidently say that ayahuasca is mostly positive. It could be challenging for some people, but I can get to that same experience through breathing. And so, in Dr. Joe's workshop, he has a pineal gland activation meditation, bringing Kundalini up, and he talks about beings coming into the room. He's like, I've seen beings the size of this room, but we have to get to their level because the gap is too big. Like, you're not going to find me, you might somehow one day for some reason, but you're not going to find me in like the lowest level bar with murderers. And if I am there, I'd be like, wonder why I'm here. But it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Right. So there's these higher ones. So we got to be able to tune ourselves to that level so they can come and say hi, which is amazing. And that really is the way to get there. And so Matt Kahn has this talk about enlightenment. His whole talk is on enlightenment. And he basically says the fastest way to enlightenment is to take the high road every single time. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, don't yell and swear and, think about slashing their tires, right? Take the high road. Somebody cuts in front of you in line, take the high road. And that's the fastest way. And it really, truly is that simple. And, it's almost karma in a sense where you, over time, you've earned it. But then you get like the kind of gifts from the universe. Most people do it like, say, in like a kid's consciousness, give me, right? I want to go get this. And don't want to commit. But when you can go look in your heart and your being and just give yourself a moment to connect with yourself, with the planet, with your life, with existence, with the whole thing, and then be like, you know what, I can be of service to this shit show, and I'm going to do my best. And when challenges come, I'm going to face them like I say, like a man, because I'm a man, like a woman, like a like what's a like just a like a good person. Yeah, I'm going to do my best to be a good person in challenging situations, and then we can add on that perspective of how does this serve me? It's a really powerful frame of mind, and that's really the key. You don't really have to go beyond that. You don't need to read. You can, you will.
Yeah.
You could read 1,000 different books, self-development, but that's really what it comes down to.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's beautiful. And, in those days that you're going to feel shitty and you're going to, somebody cuts in front of you in line, you're going to get angry, go ahead and get angry, get it out of your system. And then realize, then just have the realization, okay, did that serve? You can ask afterwards, did that serve me? And you're like, oh no, I got angry and it didn't really do anything. And after a while you start to see, well, getting angry at these silly situations isn't really doing much. So I'm just going to not get angry anymore. But again, I would just say, don't stuff anything. If you are going to feel angry, and the other lower vibration thing is then you get angry and then you beat yourself up over getting angry, and then you go down that spiral again, and it's just that constant thing. So just allow whatever to happen and be, and then acceptance and forgiveness. These are powerful tools to sort of for the old stuff. For the new stuff moving forward, okay, I know I have this higher awareness perspective now, and I'm gonna look at situations this way. But for all the stuff in the past, you don't want to beat yourself up over that either, and allow, and then you can sort of heal those wounds too and go deep, because a lot of us still carry a lot of old stuff that wasn't serving us, but we still haven't released that yet. So, and that's working with plant medicines and going deep, and can really help in those areas as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point to touch on too. I just want to add on to it. Those old traumas. Sometimes I'm working with somebody who's like 40 or 50, even like athletes. It's all the same thing. But they'll have an experience when they're 6 or 9. It doesn't matter if you're 30 or 40 or 50. You like hold on to that, and that's kind of like weight. If we are ascending, we can't be bringing luggage, right? Anger. And it could be anger for self too. It could be, just hating yourself. So how do you move through that? One of the best ways that I know is EFT. It's pretty simple, very powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. It's great. The tapping.
Yeah. So we don't, the problem is people don't have the tools, and a lot of men, they feel less, men have it pretty tough. Women have it tough too, but, men is, I've had some deep conversations with people, and what we have to deal with as far as that archetype of being strong and, not going through emotion and holding it.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of men out there with a lot of pain and a lot of, they don't want to look like they're, a wuss, you know what I mean? Or in front of their, fellow man. And it's a challenging situation. So having the tools, so EFT one, but yeah, that holding on to that luggage is, kind of what I want to really talk about, is that forgiveness is really transformational. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Real, true, deep forgiveness. And, knowing that like, this is the stuff that you got to go through. And when you can't, and there's no way you're not going to go through it. So you may as well go through it today, because that's your most important work. You go through all that challenging stuff, get through it today. And the faster you can get through that weight, you're just going to automatically lift. Your vibration is going to change, and your reality is going to change.
Yeah. A lot of it though is unconscious. And that's where expanding the awareness in the now moment, to be aware of maybe other people may see that in you, and listening to that, to the more, again, you're following your joy in the now moment, you're going to expand your awareness, and then see, and then be able to go deep. So it may not happen, you may not be, okay, I'm going to set myself on this path and it's going to change overnight. I'm still doing work. I've been doing the work, I feel like past really deep the past couple of years, but you just keep peeling away those onions, and something may show up that you didn't know was there before. And that's cool. Don't beat yourself up over that as well. You just kind of take it as it comes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. I totally agree with that. Well, my friend, I definitely have a lot more questions for you. I know we've been going for about like an hour and a bit here, but so what I wanted to do is ask you, like, what are you with you what you're working on and understanding? Like, what
Hmm.
are you most excited about? What question would you love, answered for yourself that you're kind of like looking into,
Yeah,
or what are you excited about for the future? Like, a lot of people will talk about moving into the third to fifth dimension, things like that, the new
yeah,
earth. There's so many people out there with like awakening sovereignty project, my friends with Delphi Village,
yeah,
people committed to changing the planet and being like, hey, we're getting out of this basic system that is designed and it's not very great, and
right.
we want to make this new one. What are you seeing out there in your world, and what's going on?
Well, it's great you brought that, because that's exactly. So I'm really excited about contact, right? Contact, physical contact with these beings. We have it in the form of channeling, which is a beautiful gift, and we're able to get these amazing teachings, and then I'm able to share it in the way I share it. You're able to share it in the way you share it. But the day, you can almost it's so hard to imagine, but not really. That the day when these beings actually land in their ships here, and we're having daily interactions with them on a physical level, is what I'm really passionate and excited about. um, Going on their ships, right, and having, and not in a, but literally, they landed, let's go walk on the ship and let's go do a tour, and let's go do an interview, instead of with the channeler, let's go an interview with Bashar on his ship. That would be so awesome. So that's, as wacky as that sounds right now, and some of your, I know most of your audience might be, yeah, that's cool, but some of them might be like, dude, what is this guy smoking? Um, so,
But, like,
but I actually, I can see we're getting closer to that every day, and it may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, it may be 20 years, who knows? But I can at least, before, a few years back, I had no idea, I had no concept of like, how do we we're so far from that, but I can see these intentional communities popping up. I can see the shift people are making in their daily lives. And I can see, people are probably poo-pooing over Trump and all this stuff happening, and we're never going to get there. We're so far away. And I'm like, no, we're just talking about the, the draconians coming in and helping us evolve. We need these situations. We need, look at the union, all these marches and stuff. I'm not a fan of marching against anything, but how many people are coming together, and unionizing on the planet for, maybe not always the best reasons, but it's happening in a beautiful way, in the way it's supposed to happen. And and I'm really excited about these intentional communities, because this is where the deep work is happening. People are living harmoniously with Mother Gaia, our planet, and recognizing she's a being, recognizing the other beings. It's not just ETs, but we have fairies and elves and gnomes and dragons, and they all exist. They're all in these other dimensional realms, and we're connecting to those spirits. We're connecting to these extra dimensionals, and by the more we connect with these energies, the more we connect with that, then our ET friends will haven't, like you said, we're meeting them. We're not, they can't just come in right now in this dense reality. We have to be able to go there, meet them at least halfway, if not more. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that in places. I'm in lovely Hawaii, and there's so many intentional communities here, and people, working for trade, spending 20 hours on an organic farm picking fruits, and then getting their raw vegan training and how to become a raw vegan chef. And these things are all over, and they're popping up, and the more and more I see that, the more excited I get to see. I'm seeing that we're getting close, and we're creating spaces for these ETs to come down safely. And that's a key thing for them, is they're not going to come down and get blown to bits. They're going to come down when it's safe to come down and interact, and where we can all share in the joy and the love. And then that's when we can start, sharing technology, sharing ideas, and more and concepts, more heart-centered, ideas of how to live together, and also venture out into our other cosmic family members that haven't made it here yet.
Awesome, man. I love that. One thing that you said there that made me remember, what's it? Is it 100 souls? Like there's like, if there's like 100 people reach Christ consciousness and it's a tipping point, is that like a thing? That's a thing, right? Am I getting it right?
Well, I've heard Ardif through Rob. He said there's like 144,000 oversouls on planet Earth. What that magic number is, but there's definitely that 100th monkey effect. And that's another thing I'm starting to see. As I used to say, man, we've got a long ways to go before all of humanity, reaches this consciousness vibration that, your audience, myself, and like yourself, that we all kind of are vibing at, and that we see things. But we don't have to wait for that, because you look at the 100th monkey effect. Rupert Sheldrake does great work he calls it the morphogenic fields, where after a certain number, then which we don't know exactly what that number is, call it the 100th monkey because of on the island doing the monkey experiments, but they've done it with rats, they've done it with, there's something at some point, some critical point, whatever that number is, all of a sudden everything's just going to shift, and all the wars that are happening, they're going to put down their weapons and be a magical place. And I think we're getting closer and closer to that day. And we don't have to wait for it all to gradually over a million years. I think the Book of Ra, they mentioned the shift from second density to third density happened within a generation and a half. And that was second density to third density. So we're talking from third to fourth on, right? We've been seeing this, but it could happen in a lot less time, is what I'm thinking. Maybe, as you go up in densities, things become easier and lighter. So if it took a generation and a half from second to third, maybe a half a generation from third to fourth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The way that I see it, the 100. So like, I think unconsciously we're everything as a collective. We're creating this as a planet, and as we basically clean out the dirt and the junk and the fear and the hate and the anger and the jealousy and the pain, and we transmute that into actual love and forgiveness and raise up. We can live in that space now, and people are living in it now. They're living in miracles. They're living in bliss. They're living in nature and in paradise on earth. Like look at how many people you see and some of them, they're in an intentional community in Hawaii, the best environment with beautiful people eating amazing food, just singing Kumbaya all day. It's great, but they're doing it, right? And they're expanding.
It's pretty hippy dippy, but it's awesome. It's like when you can feel it, it's like, wow, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, man. And they're growing in the way that they want to grow. And so I think that, when we hit really ascend as a collective, we start to get like with the Trump thing I really like, and I'm going to be working on a project called Blacklisted, which is bringing awareness to China, which I didn't understand the genocide that was going on there. I think I'd heard about it once and didn't believe it. But, if people don't know this, like it's basically targeting fall-on gun meditators, putting them in jail and then organ harvesting, like killing them. Like that's actually happening. That is so messed up. And so it's like, oh my God. And the guy that I'm working with, Nick, he's telling me a story about like people actually having miracles, like through meditation, different things, like guards just falling over, from this deep level practice. And as simple as the way that I see it is, there's a study done on crime in I think Chicago, and crime went down by 14 or 24% by simple meditation. So I think that once we get like 1 million people a day, 2 million, 10 million people a day meditating on peace for 15 minutes, we can shift this thing so fast. And it's going to take a catalyst for us to do that and combine, no matter what it is. The women against Trump, you got to figure out what you're for, right? We're for equality. We're for peace. We're for, what I mean? And that's what you do. So you're like, yeah, man, like we say, hey, this isn't cool. What are we for? Now let's channel that into a meditation and go 5D with it. Let's all live it and take responsibility for ourselves, and then collectively unify for what we decide and agree to, right? Collectively, you can just change these agreements.
Absolutely.
You change the agreement within yourself, and then we do it as a collective, and we can just ding off one issue at a time and transform this thing. I truly believe that if we had 10 million people meditating on peace 15 minutes a day, it would take a few months, and we just switch it overnight. But that's again,
Yeah.
so
And I think we, watching the marches and seeing things, we still have some work to do. People are still, and getting, and expressing the have, or the separation that they still need, that the belief of separation that they still need, and that's cool, and let people do that. And we probably got a few more years of doing this, but it's cool. It's getting closer.
Yeah, man. Well, my friend, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I was super excited when I reached out. I was like, yes, he got back. Like, I'm so stoked with this conversation.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't check the feed earlier, but yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad I got on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, keep me posted on all your work. And, are you plan on doing, what are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm actually doing a documentary on ayahuasca. I've been working with the medicine for a couple years now, and just the transformations that when I've sat in ceremony and see through myself, it's been gradual. I've been doing this kind of internal work for a while, but some people just, it's gone in and working with the medicine and the shamans, and it's healed so many people. So I started picking up my camera and started filming some of these transformations, and I've got some really good footage, and can continue working on that simultaneously as I'm doing the series. Should have an interview a while back with 2 interviews should be out soon. One with Ayako, who used to channel Bashar in Japan. So the interview's in Japanese. I lived in Japan for 5 years and speak Japanese, so got to do that. It's just taken me a long time to put English subtitles on it, so that'll be released for free on the YouTube channel as well as the Vimeo channel. And then another interview with Vidika, who channels Yael, the Yael civilization. She channels a being named Arjun. And if you're familiar with Bashar's work and the 5 hybrid races, the Yael is the 5th hybrid race and sort of the caretakers of the hybrid children. So we go in depth into talking about the hybrid children and the integration of them on planet Earth and the Yael civilization. So that should come out in probably.
Awesome, man. Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. I love all your stuff, man. It's super exciting, and you ask really good questions, because after you're doing the work, you're doing the self work, number one, which is the most important.
Yeah.
So you're living in integrity, and then as you're getting the information, you're kind of like your own Frodo, trying to like build this massive puzzle together. You're like, okay, first of all, I got to believe what you're saying. Okay, fine, I believe you, but now what? Right. Oh my God! So it's fun to watch you, level up in the questions that you're asking, and you're standing and weaving it together and drawing those threads. So really, really amazing series. Where can people find more about you and see your work and all that stuff if they want to contact you? Or
yeah, the series is called Interview with Ed, ED, and that's the website's interviewwithed, one word, .org, interviewwithed.org, and within that can take you to the Vimeo page, which has the series for sale. Got tons of bonus features. I've got more bonus feature material than I actually do the series. So for those who don't want to pay for the series, I totally understand it. I charge, and I split the proceeds with the channelers, because they're putting in their time, I'm putting in my time, and I try to keep it low cost, but a lot of people are like, why do you charge for this? I'm like, well, it's pretty it takes a lot of time and effort, and if we can just get our expenses really paid, and if I can give the channelers a little something for their time, then then that's all that matters.
Yeah, and wait,
For me,
not to
and
cut you
that's
off
my
too,
charge.
though, just to go on that point too. There's a lot of people like back in the
Mhm.
day, you're making music and video and stuff like that. Like even the podcast here, it takes a shit ton of time to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like you're not
Yeah.
doing it to go out to be rich. You bought your own camera equipment. You did this.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, you know, can you throw a few? Because back in the day, we used to buy it, but it was overpriced. And
Right.
and then you got a company making bazillions of dollars. Now it's time for, you know, when you see an artist, and this is what art is, you see somebody's art you enjoy, you see music you enjoy, you know, throw out a few bucks, you know, because, you know, the way that I always say it, which is probably not the best, but I'll drop $50 drinking sometimes with my buddies, you know. So if I see this amazing thing that's an hour
Right.
video that probably took you a month to support, you know, support it in a little way. And it's these little trickles that allow people to keep doing that because it's in one human supporting it. And this is like the beginning of what I see like the new economy being, right? Provide real value through something you love, and then the community will support you. So, you know, I just a plug for you because, you know, I bought a couple episodes. They're dope. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, crap, not for free, but I was like, yeah, you know, but I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know what I mean? I get it. Right. And then that way you can continue to do your thing and the work that you love. So yeah, so support your local artists, support your musicians, support people that you believe in, support brands that you know are doing good things, support right food. You know what I mean? With money, we can shift things really, really fast. So be really conscious of where you put your money, what you spend it on, whether it's nonsense, food, art, all that stuff. So that's my rant.
Yeah, thanks for putting that in, and it definitely helps. The you know, I don't make people are like, oh, you're making tons of money. I'm like, no, actually, no, I don't make money on this. It's really just a labor of love. But every little purchase does help me to have the funds, because a lot of these interviews I have to travel, and it's fun for me, but you know, it does cost, you know, to get on a plane. Usually I get a cheap Airbnb, or sometimes I can stay at the person's house, and sometimes I have to rent a car. Just depends on who I'm interviewing and where they're at. And so it all goes, and it all goes to a good cause. It all helps out. And we're gonna offer a promotion, right? So do you want to jump into that, or should I go in?
Yeah, man. Well, it's up to you how much you want to do. But basically, anyone listening to this, if you liked the interview, and go check out Reuben's work, it's super dope. So look at all of the interviews; they're really fun, and you can read the titles and descriptions and things like that. And you'll want them all because I did, because I bought a few, and I'm gonna go through more. But if you share this in your timeline and tag Reuben in it, you're gonna give away like 1 or 2 or 3 or something. He'll do like a little draw.
We'll do 3. We'll do 3. So if we'll do a draw, I'll throw the names in the hat and draw 3 and we'll do promo codes to watch the entire series for free.
Awesome. So yeah, you definitely want to do that. And all you got to do is just share this episode on your timeline because it's super cool. Reuben's cool. His work is amazing. And then the people you're going to learn from, you know, if you have more awareness, you have more freedom. Now you have that personal type of freedom where, you know, shit can go down and you still are peaceful and you're good. That's the most important type of freedom there is. Now then you're going to have secondary freedom where you're going to really be able to design and create your reality and open up to things like this. You know, my friends, I love them. And they're like, oh my God, like this sounds crazy. Belair, I believe you, but I don't know what you're talking about. Now, this is something where I get to, through my work, experience these things and share them. But I know that when you open up to this kind of thing and you expand your consciousness, you're the one who's growing, you know? So take that within yourself, and then, you know, sharing information like this is how we're all going to evolve together. Because if you find it and you say, hey, this is bullshit and this is why, and we find new information, we go, oh, that's interesting. But in this work, that doesn't happen. You just find more information that's leading you down the same path of expanded consciousness, of beings that, you know, trust me, we're not the only ones here. You know, you can communicate in different ways, but it really comes down to understanding yourself. You know, like you said, it really comes down to our own personal school, where Earth school, so to speak, and then just expanding. So yeah, love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
So was there anything that you wanted to like leave on, the listeners with, or like a final comment?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just going back to the beginnings of the interview as we were talking, and just thinking some of the stuff that you were asking, and maybe I left out. These beings, they just say we're here to experience. We've all chosen to be here. Some of us chose, probably most of your audience has chosen to sort of help uplift this dimensional reality, to come in and experience things and mix consciousnesses with different beings. And our DNA is a mixed bag of DNA, and we're just, that's it. We're just here to experience, to allow, to ascend, to be. And we don't have to get all caught up in a bunch of stuff. We're just here. So enjoy the experience, enjoy the fun, have fun with it.
Awesome, man. Beautiful ending. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you and your work. I know personally how powerful it is for somebody who's always looking for this information to see someone dedicating, because it's a pain in the ass to do, and you did it. And now I get like, oh yes, cool. Someone else is putting out some good stuff. Now I can keep going, right? Because we're going to keep getting more information. And this is the time for it. If the people are waking up, they're going to wake up fast, and the better information that we can give them, that we're going to have, like, I don't know, the old crappy car, and by the time we've all sorted this stuff out, we're going to just put them into the Ferrari, you know what I mean? And they're going to be able to get A to B, right? And we had to get there
right.
On a friggin' broken down piece of crap and go all this stuff, right? So
yeah, absolutely. That's what a friend of mine, he powerful meditator, he gave me this analogy when he started to do meditation work and stuff. The universe sort of gave him 7 years of learning and training, but at that time they said, we're giving you 7 years, but the next person, it's going to take them 7 months, and the next person is going to take them 7 days, and the next person is going to take them 7 hours. So we're, this next group of people who are going to come across this information and go through their transformations, it's happening at lightning speed.
Totally. And I've seen it. I've watched full transformations within about that time, like people that are ready to go, and they dive in. And so that's the transformation. But in it, it's everything that we see. It is a personal choice. You want to get into this, and you want to expand, and you want to know yourself. Trust me, the information is out there. You will find it. Just make that internal commitment to go towards love, to remember who you are, because that's it. You're going to remember more of what you are, this infinite being with infinite potential, infinite love, connection, and then also the humility of, okay, I'm at school, and everything is for my highest good, and I'm going to do the best I can. And when you come at it, and I'm going to serve, how can I serve? How can I understand myself, and how can I serve? And you come with those simple, basic concepts that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. You're going to transform fast.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely keep in touch. And thanks for everybody listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.